Hey guys, so I've got a story for you today about how I had to change the name of my horse because I'm so socially awkward. This sounds like a really ridiculous idea, but it actually happened. Sorry if you see dogs walking around. They're just kind of chilling in here. Anyway, basically what happened was I had this horse and his name was Bruno. And I was deciding to move stables. So I had a really rough time at the stable I was currently at, and the lady who owned it was really awful to me and just like was so unpleasant to deal with. My stuff went missing. She put my horse in a paddock where there was no grass on the ground with another horse when I was paying for a private paddock, and like she fed him stuff that I didn't want him to be fed, and it was that made him really hot, which is like really full on. And yeah, it was just a really uncomfortable sort of experience, and I really wanted to get him out. So this was at like an equestrian center. So I went across the road where there was another equestrian center, and I was like, hey, I really want to move my horse somewhere. I'm just wondering if I can move it here. And she gave me like a tour around and talked to me about it. And she seemed like a really, really awesome person who was going to actually try and help me with my horse and my training, and who was more sort of like down to earth. Like at the other stable I was at, everyone was like, had like $15,000 horses, and like they were all very posh, and I was just there with my literal $5 horse. And I felt like they kind of looked down upon me. I don't know if that was just me, but it kind of felt that way. So yeah, I was like, okay, well I'm gonna have to like hire a float, and then we'll get him like moved over there. Or I was like, oh, maybe I'll get like a transport company because I don't really want to deal with a float. And she was like, don't worry about it, I'll come pick him up for you. It's only across the road, because they are literally like across the road from each other. So little did I know that these two women had some really bad blood between each other. I don't know the full extent of that or why they like hated each other, but I stayed the hell out of that. Anyway, let's call the woman from the new place Allison, and we'll call the nasty woman from the old place Sharon. So Allison and Sharon hated each other, and I think it was because like Allison thought Sharon was too snobby, and Sharon thought Allison was like a trash writer. So it was like very sort of controversial. They hated each other. Anyway, so Allison, the day that she's coming to pick Hugo up, sorry, this is when he was still called Bruno. The day she was coming to pick Bruno up, she drove halfway up the driveway and was like, I'm not gonna go any further just because I don't want to have her see me and like start a fight. I think that'd be like really stressful for everyone. And I was like, okay, no worries. She's like, I'm just gonna do a U-turn here, because it was like a wide part of the driveway. The driveway was like really long. So she's like, I'm just gonna do a U-turn here, and then we'll like load him in and then go. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. So she starts to try to do this U-turn, and she jackknifes the float because it's not like wide enough for her to actually do a U-turn with a big four-wheel drive and a float. So she jackknifes it and it's stuck, and then the only way she could get out of it was to reverse back into Sharon's fence, which like made the fence like on a lean, and then drive forward, which meant she ran into one of the round yards, which put a dent in her car, and then she like finally like shimmied her car and the float around so it was like facing the exit. But like the car had like a dent in it, the float like had scratching from the fence, and the fence was like leaning over. So we were like, oh shit, we gotta get out of here. So I like go back up, and like Sharon seems like unaware of, sorry, I forgot the name I gave her. She seems like unaware of what's going on, but knows that we're leaving. So I'm like, hey, where is my blanket, like his rug, and I think it was like a spare halter or something. And she was like, oh, I don't know, maybe you should look after your things better. But we were like paying for them to rug the horse like morning and night, take the rugs off and put them on. So that pissed me off, and I was like, you know what, fine, I don't even give a shit, whatever. If you're gonna be snarky and this rude about like a rug that is mine, you know what, you've earned it, go for it. So I was like, fuck that. Went down to the paddock, and she'd been feeding him this feed that made him really hot, even though I asked her 100 times not to. So he was in a foul mood and he was just super flighty. So I get him, and I'm walking down to the float, and he is being the biggest dick. He's spooking at absolutely everything there possibly is to spook at, and I'm just like super anxious because I've just seen Alison almost knock over the fence. I think I'm gonna have to pay for her car to get fixed. And yeah, it's been a great morning though so far. So I'm trying to get him into the float, and I had never floated him before because I just had him like delivered to me like via like a transporting company. So I didn't know how he went in the float. I just assumed he was fine because his old owner told me that he was fine. So I go to walk him into the float, and because I'm just so stressed out and I'm not really paying enough attention, obviously, when he starts to bolt, I just don't let go of the rope. So I'm just holding on for dear life, and I'm like, just get in the goddamn float, Bruno. I don't have time for this bullshit today. He rears up and fucks off and rips all of the skin off my hand. Like, obviously it's healed, it's been a couple of years. But yeah, rips like a heap of skin off my hand and just fucks off up the driveway. So I'm like, thanks, awesome, great. So I like go and get him, and then Alison's like, look, I'll load him. You're like a little bit stressed at the moment. And I was like, no worries. So we got some food and eventually like got him onto the float, and it was like all good. So we followed her over there, and I'm like in the car because my mum like drove me out there because she was like, I'm just gonna supervise and make sure this all goes well. So I'm in the car and I'm like, this has been the most stressful situation. I hate all of this. I hope it all gets better from here. So mum's like, it's gonna be fine, don't even worry about it, just don't stress, just let everything, like, you know, it'll be fine, don't worry about it. So we get there, we put him in the stable, and we're talking about it, and Angela's like, yeah, he's quite underweight, like she wasn't feeding him enough, like we're gonna work with him and we'll see how we can go with his training. She's like really committed to helping me out. Anyway, so this is where the incident actually happened. I know I've maybe wait 6-7 minutes for the incident, but I just wanted to give you some background on how stressed I was this day. So she introduces me to the stable hand, who is a lovely woman, and she's like, hey, my name's so-and-so, it's really nice to meet you. And she must have misheard what Alison had said, because she goes, oh, and is this your horse Hugo? And me being like so awkward, I just didn't want to correct her. It had been a long day, and I just said, oh, hi, I'm Katie. Yeah, that's him. Like, it just came out like I don't know why I didn't just go, oh no, his name's Bruno. But no, I was just like, yeah, that's him. And then she turned around to all the other young girls who like, well, not young girls, they're probably my age, who like rode at the stable, who were also there. And they were like, oh, girls, this is Katie and this is her horse Hugo. And they were like, oh, it's really nice to meet you. Isn't Hugo beautiful? And I was like, I don't know who the fuck Hugo is, but Bruno is handsome. But I was like, yeah, he's lovely. He's great. Cost me $5. So, for the next 6 months, I kept him there, and his name was Hugo. And pretty much every time they said that to me, I was like, who? What? But then it finally stuck, and I went to move him, and his name was just Hugo from then on. When I went to sell him, I was selling him to someone, and they were like, oh, so what's his name? And I was like, you know what, just whatever makes you happy, fam. Hugo, Bruno, Encino, he'll answer to whatever. Probably mostly answers to, stop it, what are you doing? Stop doing that, because that's mostly what he probably got told. But yeah, no, that was probably one of my most awkward moments. So yeah. Good times, good times. Thanks for watching. I have some more awkward stories that sort of like are not horse related that I'm thinking of sharing. So if you liked this awkward story, let me know and I'll tell you some more good ones. And on top of that, if you are interested in seeing more videos of puppies, of random dumb shit and of funny stories, then definitely subscribe. And I hope that you're having a good day or night wherever you are.